and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of the 2013 Naval Academy Leadership Conference. Please join me in welcoming the Commandant of Midshipman, Captain Robert E. Clark II, to the stage.
Thanks a lot. Well, good morning, and welcome back to your home. This is a place where I hope that you're learning about each other, but more importantly, learning about yourself. And there's one misnomer. As you look around here, you'll see walls, you'll see mortar, you'll see brick, you'll see fences. That does not define this institution, and I hope that does not define the scope of your potential. Education in life is not defined by the inanimate. It is expansive. And it reminds me of a Chinese quote where if you take a little frog and put it in a well, and you ask that frog, show me the sky, he's going to look up and he's going to point to a little hole of light. But then if you remove the frog from the well, the analogy is if you allow yourself to remove the bonds of self-imposed restrictions that others try to put on you, when you put that little frog outside, he sees that the sky is much, much more expansive. So as you open and broaden your minds, if you really think about leadership, your potential will be broad and expansive. So University of Michigan, we've got them here. Where are you at? Yes? No? Okay, where's Bridget? Is that you? So why are you here, Bridget? You're here to learn about leadership. And that's the segue into this. Now, this slide that I have up here is something that my sons and daughters see all the time. And I want to share it with you. And the first part about leadership, which that is what this conference is about, is leadership. But leadership is not an academic drill. Leadership is not a brief. Leadership is not about you. It's not about me. It is a contact sport. So, as you go through this conference, I'm not going to give you a 10-minute discussion on history. I'm not going to give you a lot of examples. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to remove yourself from that well. I'm going to challenge you to get involved with this conference, not for you, but for what you will be able to do for others. How will you motivate? How will you empower? How will you inspire other people? If all you're doing is taking notes, if you're here to learn from an academic setting and create a notebook that then you place on the shelf, you will lose the potential that the words, that the lessons have to speak to you. Use this time, use this conference, use this experience as a catalytic force to engage you in what leadership is. So I ask while you're here, what are your goals? Your personal goals, and how will you improve? We talk a lot about responsibility, and it's not only on the individual, it's on your organization. And how do you help others keep that long view? So as you go through this, like I asked Bridget, and I didn't mean to call you out. I went to Ann Arbor Pioneer, by the way, so that's why Michigan was near and dear. But where's Texas? Okay, where's Mike Lowe? Where's that? Right there. So Mike, what year are you at Texas? Senior. So what happens pretty soon? Graduation. Is that a big deal? No, it's a beginning. What's another word for graduation? Commencement. It's a beginning. Okay? Life is a journey, and it's a journey of beginnings and ends. It's a journey of discovery and learning. But it's the process and it's the journey that'll make you better, but more importantly, make those around you much, much better. And leadership's the same way. You're going to hear a lot of stories. Yesterday, Judge Free was up here and gave a great analogy of Grant. And a lot of us know Grant as a general in the Union Army, 4-star general. But Grant's true power, as Judge Free brought out, was the fact that he saved this country. Failed at everything he's ever done in life except being a general, but more importantly, being a leader. A leader when that was so ripe not to be. He just got done fighting a war. The politicians were now taking over. He could have stepped aside, but he didn't. And he saved the country. The other part of that story that Judge didn't bring out, which is just as powerful, is General Lee was ordered not to surrender the Army of Virginia. He was ordered by Jefferson Davis, "You will not surrender this army." And Lee did the right thing too. He knew that would destroy the country. So he gathered all his generals together and he said, "Gentlemen, I've been ordered not to surrender this army. We've been ordered to take our forces into the Shenandoah and fight a guerrilla war similar to what was going on in Missouri. I will not do that to our people. I will not do that to our country. I will not do that to our future. If you can't stand with me, I understand. Take your divisions and go. If you will stand with me, it would be my privilege for you to accompany me to Appomattox." And those are the generals that went with him. So the promise that Grant made was not just to a man or men, it was to a generation and a future reflected in those men. Again, not a singular thing. If you look at our Constitution, it's not the people, it's not the country, it's we, the people. 2 letters, 1 word, very powerful. We, the people. Leadership is not an individual thing. Leadership is not an academic drill. Leadership is not a course you take and then get graded. Leadership is an introduction into a catalytic way of life that can change the lives of those around you. The minute you understand that changing somebody's life is more important than some immediate gratification or near-term goal you think you have, is when you start to understand the true power of leadership. Impact in others' lives, and yours will be much richer. So the next bullet's like, well, okay, I got you, Don. I'm kind of on board with you a little bit. Texas in the house, Michigan in the house. Where's Sonia Park from University of Pennsylvania? Bringing the Ivy League here. But these next 2 bullets talk about leadership development of all midshipmen and no midshipman left behind. You can remove the word midshipman and you can put anything you want in there. You could put Wharton Business School. You could put Gerald Ford, Bucknell, Texas A&M. Do you consider yourself a leader right now, Sonia? Okay. Did you help anybody in classwork this last week? Help them do something they couldn't do before? You're leading. Okay, leadership is something that, again, transcends yourself. So how are you training your reliefs? You were just doing that. The students that will follow behind you, you're making it better for them. And at the end of the day, leadership is that personal engagement. Leadership and leaders are not defined by rank, by medals, by speeches said on one's behalf. That doesn't define a leader. That doesn't quantify leadership. True leadership is reflective in how you motivate, mentor, inspire, and help others to do things they never thought that they were capable of doing. And quite frankly, they probably weren't by themselves. But it goes back to our Constitution. Once you bring in those 2 letters, once you understand the power of we, leadership can perpetuate. Think about it. Why do governments fall? Why do corporations go under? You have people with gold up and down their sleeves, medals and ribbons and tassels. And they are the heads of state. And people gather. And they will. People will congregate and people will gather around position and around rank. but they will only hear. They will only follow. They will only believe in leaders. Mother Teresa, she didn't have a lot of medals. She changed the world. And you could go back through history. Go back to Robert E. Lee. Did not wear the rank of 4-star general of the Confederate Army. And if you have a couple weeks on your hand and can wade through a book about this thick, I highly recommend his biography because it's fascinating. He understood leadership. To him, it wasn't what he was wearing on his collar. Because again, if you look and see what he wore, it was actually, I think, about a 3-star. That wasn't important to him. What was important to him was the care and feeding of his men. What was important to him was the cause in his country. What was important to him was helping and motivating other people. So if you truly think you're a leader and nobody's following you, they just kind of gather for a while and you walk away. If you truly think you're a leader and nobody's following, what are you doing? It's contact sport. If you think you're a leader and nobody's following, you're just going on a walk. And you're going alone. And that's not leadership. That's not leadership. So are you going to be a leader? Are you going to help somebody in a class and maybe change their perception? Are you going to help somebody out in town? Are you going to do something that's going to change somebody's life and make it a better place to live? Are you going to go into our military and have thousands of sailors or Marines someday look back and say, you know, I'm a better person and professional having had that young man or that young woman in my life? So again, I challenge you. Are you going to be a leader or are you going to be a herder? You can attain any position in life that you desire. And again, you'll have people that will congregate. But as you attain that position, unless you do so from a sense of integrity, character, and understanding of changing those lives around you, you won't be a leader. And herding will be okay for a while until you need to move. And then when you move, look around because it'll just be you. And you'll be back alone with your ribbons, your medals, and your title. And your area and your world or your company or your army or your navy will have stayed the same. And you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. Understanding through ownership, that's a key. And it's kind of hopefully what I'm doing right now. Will you speak or communicate? You could speak all you want. You could have this PowerPoint. By the way, that's a Tomahawk missile coming out of a submarine that I had the privilege of living on. You know, some people say, well, I commanded the submarine or I commanded that aircraft carrier. I don't know about them, but I didn't command an inanimate object. I had the privilege of serving with 135 warriors that lived on that inanimate object. But that's merely speaking. To communicate, you have to reach in. To communicate, you have to talk, verbally and non-verbally. To communicate, it's with actions. To communicate, it's hopefully to empower and inspire. Because if all I do is talk, you're going to listen, but you're not going to remember. But if we can communicate, you're going to hear, and then hopefully one or two of you will institute change. Change for the better of yourself, but more importantly, change for the better of your unit, your neighborhood, your town, our country. Make no mistake about it. You are our future. And the young men and women that I've had the privilege to meet over the last day, and I say this all the time when I go out and speak, and I usually speak about the Naval Academy, is there's a concern about our national soul and future. I tell people all the time, if they're willing to listen, if they let me communicate, that our soul is strong and our future's in great hands. And I tell you what, after having the privilege to look in your eyes and get a feel for your soul, I can now say that across the expanse of your generation and our country is in great hands. You are the future leaders if you choose to be. If you understand that it's not about you, it's about him or him. You've kind of got it already, son. You're on the right step. But it's a contact sport. And at the end of the day, there is absolutely nothing more important, the bedrock of this contact sport that we call leadership. Again, it's great to learn, but don't leave it there. Read about the stories in the past. Understand why other people did what they did to motivate and inspire, but then make it your own. But at the bedrock of that is integrity, character, and a strong moral fiber. And each and every one of you have that. So some people would say it's the destination. I say it's the journey. And never lose sight of that. Because through that journey, you're going to impact lives. And my bumper sticker to you is that if you truly go out there selflessly and dedicate your preparation, in the end, that'll yield professional separation. Change a life, impact others, prepare and dedicate. And when you reach that professional goal, whether it's in the military, whether it's in the government, whether it's in sports, whether it's in church, in life, you will separate yourself from others, because as a leader, you will have many around you helping you out. Enjoy the rest of your conference. This is your home. Ask questions, and remember, when you go back to those other areas you live, look around your campus and defy the walls. That doesn't define Michigan, Penn, Bucknell, Texas A&M. That merely keeps the rain out. Education cannot be bounded by mortar or brick. It must not be. And the same with leadership. It cannot be kept within. It needs to be shared. It needs to be cultivated. It's a contact sport. Thank you.